Hi everyone, welcome back to the Red Sofa here at Automotive Logistics and Supply Chain Europe. I'm pleased to be joined by Peter Hörndlein, who's leading vehicle logistics for Volkswagen Concern Logistic, that's Group Logistics, responsible for vehicle logistics across Europe and shipping flows globally. Peter, so pleased that you can be with us and sharing insights on the changing European network here. And you gave some great examples of areas of network optimization. Can you share with our audience here, what are some of the key changes you're making to your vehicle logistics network here in Europe?
Yeah. So first of all, the network really needs to be flexible, it needs to be transparent, it needs to be sustainable, but it also needs to be efficient. And you cannot have the one without the other. It's like four dots that need to be connected. And we have introduced a couple of changes in order to improve that. For instance, we have developed together with an investor and the port authorities a new port facility in the Mediterranean, which helps us to reduce lead times, reduce carbon footprint and care for shorter delivery times. Also on the road traffic, we have done a so-called area concept, which is basically what you know from the inbound side, area forwarding, but we have reversed that. So we have one area which is operated by several providers, and whatever load comes for that area, the first one that has capacity available picks it and delivers it. So at the end of the day, this was a win-win situation for us as well as for them, because it increased the flexibility significantly. On the rail side, I would love to do more in terms of network design, but there is at the moment a lot of limiting factors because of capacity availability in wagons, but also infrastructure availability in a lot of construction sites.
So those are already some great examples where you're being proactive. Another area I know that has been a strong focus for Group Logistics has been in enhancing visibility and tracking of vehicle inventory. Can you tell us a little bit about the initiative here and how it's also helping you in the vehicle logistics and distribution?
Yeah. What we experienced during the crisis, that a lot of questions were asked, rightfully though, and it was very hard to get the information together on point. And we found out pretty easily that we lack transparency in the whole process chain. And what we have really done is that we have increased the transparency from end to end with statistics, with KPIs, with cockpits and dashboards where information is really easily accessible. And that helps us also to really get in front of the wave and steer the whole process more proactively. With increased flexibility and transparency throughout the chain, we cannot only react quicker to disturbances and challenges, but we can also avoid that we have to answer a lot of questions because we can proactively give the reports and provide the information before the questions are being asked.
So that's a really important focus on the inventory side. And the other initiative I know has been important has been on improving capacity and demand planning. Of course, also for sure, as a result of some of those questions during the crisis. Can you tell us more about the tool and the process that you've implemented?
Yeah. I mean, it has been common practice that we have shared demands with our partners, with our service providers. But in the past, it was more like a static approach that you have like once a month updated planning numbers, or when you set up a contract, you give planning figures for the contract duration, but that is no longer good enough. So we really introduced a more frequent, a more dynamic update of the numbers. And also on the counter side, our service providers, they are updating their capacity availability information in a higher frequency and with a greater degree of transparency. And that helps us to detect early on whether there might be shortages or whether there might be overcapacities. And that helps then to either allocate them in a better way to overcome the shortages, or to rethink and redefine some aspects of the process in order to mitigate these fluctuations.
Peter, would you say that maybe those processes or other initiatives are putting you in a better position to avoid a repeat of what we saw 12 to 18 months ago? Of course, we don't have the capacity crisis that we faced then, but do you think we're better prepared to avoid a repeat of that?
I definitely think so. And I think everybody has on the one side applied lessons learned. Also, when some demands were falling backwards. A lot of capacities and equipment were abandoned too easily, and I think everybody has learned on that there is at the moment an investment in new vessels, in new wagons, luckily also in BEV trucks. And everybody has learned the lessons and is much better prepared. And I think little fluctuations are the new normal. So everybody will not be concerned that everything goes crazy now and does something crazy then by himself or within their own assets. But everybody is more focused on, okay, how can we overcome these fluctuations and have a look forward? But obviously it helps to have a transparent outlook and to have the forecasted volumes for the future so that the reaction go in the right direction and do not counteract the purpose.
Absolutely. You mentioned the BEV truck investment. So obviously there's a number of decarbonization initiatives underway at Volkswagen and the group. What would you say is going to have the biggest impact for your sustainability initiatives in the short term, 25, this year, next year? And then we'll look a little bit longer term too.
So in the short term, I want to shift as much on rail as possible. And we have already quite a high share on rail traffic with green electricity. However, capacities there are fairly limited, whether it's wagons or whether it's rail infrastructure. So we cannot do as much as we would like to. The second lever in the short term will be shifting on e-trucks, and luckily the offer for the finished vehicle service providers will be much better to have e-trucks that are compatible with the trailer equipment. And for sure we also need to increase our activities in LNG powered ships. So luckily in our own controlled fleet, 50% of the ships are already running on LNG, which gives us also a significant reduction in CO2 footprint.
Excellent. And finally, what do you think will be the big lever to pull by 2030 when we look 5-6 years out?
Yeah, for 2030 or in the little bit more distant future, for sure the technology will evolve and will change. So we are open to all it, whether it's ammonia for the ships, whether it's synthetic fuels, whether it's biogenic fuels, or whether the path with LNG continues that we wanted to extend. So there is all aspects that need to be explored. Also in the longer run, there is some interesting options coming up on the rail side. And that gives us also the chance to supply certain markets by rail, which is, of course, from my point of view, the most environmentally friendly mode of transport. But also on the trucking side, I think within the next 5 to 10 years, we see a big share of e-trucks coming into the fleets. Charging infrastructure will be expanded, so this will be the new normal on the trucking side. And for sure, an e-truck does not have any CO2 emissions then in service.
So some fantastic insights on the fast-changing network. Peter, thank you so much for joining us here on the Red Sofa and at Automotive Logistics and Supply Chain Europe.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
And thanks for watching. You'll find more insights from Peter's presentation and other activities at the Volkswagen Group and other OEMs on our live blog and at automotivelogistics.media. Thanks so much.